Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it has been very long time since I have not uploaded any video regarding any topic, but from now onwards we are going to start with a very new topic, that is developmental biology, which is a very important topic in any exam point of view. You can say in graduation or in masters or entrance point of view, it is also important because this section is very important to understand how the development or how the embryo is growing, and to know that we need to start from the very beginning of the chapter, that is the introduction part. This video will be regarding the introduction of developmental biology, that is how embryo starts or how the life starts, okay? And in the subsequent video we will be discussing them in detail. So let's begin without any delay with our first topic, that what is development and what are the phases of development. We are going to begin. So let's see. First of all, we need to understand what is development, or we can say what is developmental biology. Developmental biology is nothing but the process in which the microscopic cell, you can say everything begins from a single cell and gradually it divides to become a multicellular cell. Every living organism starts their life from a single cell, and then finally they multiply to become a complex organism that is highly complex and multicellular in structure. So that process in which a microscopic cell, single cell, develops into highly complex multicellular cell is known as development. And why we term that is biology? Because it is regarding the living cell. Okay, so developmental biology is nothing but the study of the process of development. And what is development? Is the process in which the microscopic cells develops into a highly complex organism. And very important thing to note down, that for the process of development, three things need to be done, or that is the three fundamental processes which undergoes for the development process. First is the increase in size of the cell, or you can say the cleavage process or cell division process. Second thing is the cell differentiation, and third is the organogenesis. What are they? How do they perform all these things? We are going to discuss in detail. But for the process to develop into a fundamental, that is a proper complex multicellular organism, there are certain stages a cell has to go to become a multicellular organism. What are these phases of development? Let's understand in detail. And each phases we will be discussing it in detail in the upcoming video. But first we are going to discuss this in overall, what are the phases that a cell has to undergo to become a fully fledged multicellular organism. So let's begin. So first, these are the 8 phases for the process of development. One is the gametogenesis, then fertilization, cleavage, gastrulation, organogenesis, growth, differentiation and metamorphogenesis. What are these processes? We are going to discuss in detail. Let's first discuss the first very fact, that is what is gametogenesis. Everything begins with the formation of gamete, because as you know, the zygote is formed by the fertilization process, that is the fusion of two gametes, that is from the male and the sperm. Okay, that is male sperm and the ovum from the female. Then only the zygote will be formed, and then the process begins. But for the sake of formation of the zygote, first the gametes need to be formed, and the formation of the gamete process is known as gametogenesis. That is, the gametogenesis is nothing but the formation of gametes, that is sperm and ovum. In the case of male, it is known as spermogenesis or spermatogenesis, that is the development or the formation of sperm. And in case of female, that is known as oogenesis, that is the formation of ovum. As you know all that the sperm is a highly motile structure. Why motile? Because you can see here that it has a distinct structure, that is it has a tail in it, which creates the mobility. And the structure of the sperm is divided into three parts, that is the head, middle piece and the tail. And each part is responsible for it has its own role. That is, the head region is responsible, head and the middle piece you can say is responsible for the entering the egg, and the tail region is responsible for the motility, so that it can swim across the female genital tract and fuse with the egg. So each part has its own role. We are not going in depth now. We will be dealing when we will study gametogenesis in detail. But next is the formation of oogenesis, that is the ovum. This is the structure of the ovum and it is known as oogenesis. As you can see in the structure also, the ovum is large size but it is non-motile, means it does not undergo any mobility. It is stationary. Whereas you can see the structure of the sperm, it has tail and it is comparatively smaller in size as compared to that of the egg. Egg is comparatively larger and the sperm is comparatively smaller than the ovum. So this is the process in which the gametes are formed, that is gametogenesis. This is the first very step in which the development occurs. Next step is the process of fertilization. That is, the sperm from the male and the ovum from the female fertilizes to form the zygote. How does this fertilization takes place? It is a very interesting topic which we will be discussing in detail in the upcoming video. But for a gist or for the summary, we can say that for the fertilization process, certain steps are needed to be taken care. That is, the very important steps is the first is the capacitation. That is, the sperm is need to be ready or activated for the fertilization process. Second is acrosomal reaction. Third is the egg activation, and finally the nucleus of sperm and ovum will fuse and the zygote will form. And remember one thing, out of thousands and millions of sperm, only one sperm will fuse with the ovum and results in the formation of zygote. And one more thing need to be noted down, that the sperm is haploid in nature. That is, it has n number of chromosomes, as well as the ovum is also haploid in nature, that is n. When both of them fuse to form a zygote, it forms 2n number of chromosomes, that is diploid in structure. Okay, so this everything we will be discussing in detail when we will study the fertilization chapter. But for now, fertilization is nothing but the fusion of male and female pronucleus to form 2n or single cell, that is zygote. Remember that the zygote is single cell. Next, third step is the cleavage. Once the zygote is formed, now that is zygote is single stage. Now the zygote need to be divided and the series of multiple division takes place. And the division is mitotic division. Remember that the cleavage is a mitotic division, that is equational division or number of series of division in which a single cell zygote is divided number of times to form a particular blastula and then gastrula. First morula is formed, then gastrula, then blastula, and then finally gastrula is formed. This one also we will be dealing in detail. So you can see here, first of all, they are single cell. You can see here, this is single cell. Then they undergo cleavage, that is division and number of division, and finally they form the gastrula. Then what is gastrulation? In this picture you can see in the detail that zygote, which is a single cell, cleavage, it forms first 2 cell stage and then 8 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell, 16, 32 and forms blastula. Okay, then the blastula, and each you can see each division of this cleavage is known as the blastomere, and and then a hollow cavity will be formed in blastula which is known as blastocele. Okay, and then they form the gastrula, which is this structure is known as archenteron, and gastrula results in the formation of 3 germinal layer which is very, very important for the further formation of organs, that is endoderm, ectoderm and mesoderm. These three germinal layers will finally results in the formation of the future organs. So the process of gastrulation marks a very important step in the process of development, because here the three germinal layers, as you can see, endoderm, ectoderm and mesoderm will be formed. Then what is organogenesis? Organogenesis is nothing but the formation of organs. As you have seen that in the process of gastrulation, three germ layers will be formed: ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm, and each one will be destined or have the certain fate to form a specific part of the organ. As you can see in this diagram also, that the fertilization took place and the zygote will be formed, then blastocyst, then the primordial germs precursor cell, okay, then primordial germ cells, okay, then migration of the cells, then finally the fetal growth and then maturity. So you can see how gradually the organs are formed. So this process of organ formation is known as organogenesis. Okay. Next, coming to the growth. Growth is nothing but only is the increase in the size or in the weight is known as growth. You can see here it was a single cell, then finally gradually the growth, and that results into the formation of the fetus. This is known as growth, only the increase in the size and the weight. Then very important point is differentiation. What is differentiation? Differentiation, the word differentiation itself means specialization of the embryonic tissue, order cells into tissue and organ. So what is differentiation? So every cells which are formed in the cleavage are destined or are fate, have certain, they come with a certain fate, that is they have certain future. Every cell has its own future. Some cells will form the morphogenetic part, that is known as morphogenetic differentiation. That is, they are destined to form the morphology, that is size, shape of the organ or the embryo. Second, some cells will form the physiological, that is some cells will perform the physiological role, that is digestion, excretion, reproduction, etc. That is known as physiological differentiation. And third and the foremost is the chemical differentiation, that is certain cells will perform the chemical role, that is of an enzyme, which helps for the differentiating cells into tissues, and finally these tissues will gather to form the organs. So the step differentiation is very important for the growth of the organism, or for the further distributing or distinguishing between the cells, that which cell will form which organ. Okay. And for the differentiation process, one important thing is the presence of morphogen. What is morphogen? Morphogen is nothing but a chemical messenger, like that of a hormone. Okay, as the hormone regulates the activity of the endocrine glands, similar way the morphogens, that is helps in the process of morphogenesis, that is the differentiation process. Okay, the quantity of the morphogen or this chemical gradient will decide that which organ will be formed at which part of the cell. Either anterior portion will be formed, posterior region will be formed, or middle region will be formed. So depending upon the quantity or the presence of morphogen, which morphogen, according to that the anterior, posterior and the middle regions of a embryo will be formed. So the process of differentiation is also very important for the process of development. And last step is the metamorphogenesis. So that is the process in which the some certain organisms undergo the metamorphogenesis, that is from the larval stages it grows into the adult stage. That is, you can very well example of metamorphogenesis is the butterfly. First it forms the larval stage, then it undergoes pupa, and finally it forms into a beautiful butterfly. Similarly, in case of in human also, first is the baby, then adolescence, or you can say puberty stage, and then finally into adult stage. That is the process in which the development takes place, or development from the larval stage into the adult stage is known as the metamorphogenesis, and it is the final and the last step of the embryonic development. Okay, so these are certain developmental phases in which the cell has to undergo in order to develop into a fully adult. Okay, and then finally the process of embryogenesis is over. Okay, I have only discussed this in a highlight point of view, that is overall we have discussed, but each one is very important for the understanding in detail about the development of embryo. So in the next we will be discussing about gametogenesis in detail. We have only discussed a highlight point, but in detail we are going to discuss what is gametogenesis in the next class. Hope you find this video fruitful and informative, and if you find this video informative, do share among your friends and subscribe to my channel if you are new to my channel. And one more thing I want to tell, that I am making the video regarding basis to clear your fundamental. Okay, for deeper knowledge, or if you want to study in depth, you can say you can follow the guided prescribed books, okay, for detailed study. But here only I am making you understand certain topics in the fundamental point of view, so that you understand this topic, and then if you want to get certain extra information, you can go through standard books. Okay, so that's all for today. In the upcoming video we are going to discuss how the process of gametogenesis takes place and further developmental process. Thank you and have a nice day.